They say history remembers the victors, but it never forgets the strange. And in the grand theater of human existence, where kings command empires and peasants toil in anonymity, death remains the one actor that never misses his cue. Yet there are moments when his entrance is so absurd, so spectacularly unbelievable, that it defies the solemn dignity we associate with dying. Tonight, we step through the corridors of time and unearth the 10 weirdest deaths in history, where fame, folly, and fate collided in the most unimaginable ways. Picture it: the roar of a crowd, the glint of a crown, the hum of invention, or the whisper of passion. And then, in a blink, a twist so bizarre it feels more like fiction than fact. But this is not fiction. These stories are carved into the annals of truth, sealed in dust, blood, and irony. Let us begin where art met death, ancient Greece, where one of the greatest painters of antiquity, Zeuxis, stood before his masterpiece. He had painted an old woman, a portrait so comically grotesque that when he unveiled it, he laughed and laughed until he stopped breathing. His brush fell, his heart gave out, and the crowd froze. Death by laughter, an artist killed by his own sense of humor. In that instant, irony became immortal, and the gods, it seems, shared in the joke. Centuries later, another man would meet a fate no less poetic. Chrysippus of Soli, a Stoic philosopher, brilliant mind of Greece, watched a donkey eat his figs and, amused beyond reason, ordered that the donkey be given wine to wash them down. As the animal drunkenly munched, Chrysippus burst into hysterics, so uncontrollable that he too laughed himself into eternity. In the land of wisdom and philosophy, laughter proved deadlier than war. The ancients believed the gods used laughter to humble men, but perhaps in these deaths, laughter was the gods themselves, reminding us that even brilliance cannot outwit absurdity. Move forward to the dawn of empire, where Emperor Qin Shi Huang of China, the man who united a warring land and built the Great Wall, sought to conquer death itself. Obsessed with immortality, he swallowed mercury pills. Elixirs promised to make him live forever. They didn't. The irony was so cruelly elegant that historians still whisper it with awe. The man who built a wall against time was felled by his own desire to outlive it. When he died, his court hid his death for months, dragging his body across China in a cart filled with rotting fish to mask the smell of decay. The immortal emperor had become mortal after all, consumed not by an enemy blade, but by alchemy's deceit. Yet death was not done playing its twisted games. Centuries later, in the opulent halls of Rome, a poet named Aeschylus walked under the Mediterranean sun, pondering his next tragedy. He had been warned by oracle no less that he would die from something falling upon his head. So he avoided cities, stayed beneath open skies, and trusted that fortune favored the cautious. Fate, however, has a wicked sense of humor. As Aeschylus walked, an eagle above mistook his bald head for a rock and dropped a tortoise to crack its shell. The shell cracked, and so did the poet's skull. The bird flew away victorious. The poet lay silent. In that moment, prophecy fulfilled itself with the precision of a playwright's final act. It was a tragedy written by the heavens themselves. But let us travel now to England, where Sir Francis Bacon, philosopher, statesman, and father of the scientific method, met a death as cold as it was ironic. One winter's day, he pondered whether freezing meat could preserve it. To test his theory, he stuffed a chicken with snow. The experiment succeeded. The scientist did not. He caught pneumonia and perished soon after, a martyr to the pursuit of knowledge. His last act, a frozen chicken, would forever immortalize him as a man too curious for his own survival. History in all its grandeur rarely spares the curious, nor does it spare the proud. Take King Adolf Frederick of Sweden, whose final meal became legend. It was 1771, and the monarch feasted like a god. Lobster, caviar, sauerkraut, smoked herring, champagne, and 14 servings of his favorite dessert, a sugary pastry drowned in hot milk. When he finished, his stomach, loyal until that moment, surrendered. The king who ruled a nation was defeated by his own appetite. His death was so gluttonous that school children in Sweden still learn it as the king who ate himself to death. And in those decadent final moments, he became proof that even royalty cannot bargain with excess. But death, ever the dramatist, saved one of its finest performances for a man named Hans Steininger, a mayor in 16th century Austria celebrated for his magnificent beard, nearly 2 meters long. One day, fire broke out in his town. In panic, he forgot to roll up his beard. He tripped on it, fell down a staircase, and broke his neck. The beard that brought him fame also became his noose. His beard was later preserved in a museum, a relic of pride turned punishment. It remains there still, a reminder that vanity, like fire, can burn those who admire their own reflection too long. History is a vast stage, and the curtain of irony never closes for long. Consider Clement Vallandigham, an American lawyer in the 19th century who argued that his client's victim had accidentally shot himself. To prove his point, Vallandigham demonstrated the motion, using what he thought was an unloaded gun. The gun was not unloaded. He died instantly, and the jury, impressed by his unintended proof, acquitted the client. It was the only case in history won by a lawyer who died in the middle of his own argument. Fame, justice, and tragedy had merged into one absurd spectacle. As if the gods themselves found endless amusement in mortal irony, the march of strange deaths continued, winding through centuries like a shadow laughing behind history's grandeur. Across the seas in the golden courts of Renaissance Italy, a man named Sigurd the Mighty, Earl of Orkney, fell victim not to sword or spear, but to a tooth. In battle, he beheaded his rival, Malbregte the Buck-toothed, and tied the severed head to his horse's saddle as a trophy. But as he rode away triumphant, the enemy's protruding tooth scraped his leg, cutting deep into the flesh. Infection followed, and within days the victorious Earl lay dead, killed by the tooth of a corpse. The bards would later sing of Sigurd's triumph, but time would remember the irony, that arrogance can turn victory into vengeance. And in that dark irony, the wheel of fate turned again. In the court of King Henry II of France, chivalry met its most brutal and ridiculous end. During a tournament in 1559, the king, burning with pride and passion, insisted on jousting despite warnings. His opponent's lance shattered upon impact, and a splinter pierced the king's visor, lodging in his eye. He lingered for days in agony, doctors probing the wound in vain. His death was not only tragic but symbolic, a monarch undone by his own thirst for glory, a ruler slain by the very sport meant to celebrate his power. Even the grandest crowns, it seems, can hide fatal flaws. But perhaps no end was as symbolically haunting as that of George Plantagenet, Duke of Clarence, brother to 2 English kings whose ambition outstripped his caution. Accused of treason and sentenced to die, he was granted one final request, the manner of his execution. And what did he choose? To be drowned in a barrel of Malmsey wine. As legend tells it, the Duke was submerged in his favorite drink, the very luxury that had defined his decadent life. Whether truth or myth, the story survives because it feels right, because it captures the poetic justice of excess devouring itself. Across oceans and ages, the pattern remains. Power mocks itself, and death, patient as a poet, waits for the punchline. Even in modern times, absurdity refuses to rest. In 1911, an American tailor named Franz Reichelt dreamed of flight. He designed a parachute suit, a hybrid of fashion and invention, and climbed the Eiffel Tower to prove it worked. Onlookers gathered below as he spread his arms, eyes full of conviction. But when he leapt, the suit folded in upon itself, and Reichelt plummeted to his death before hundreds of witnesses. Cameras rolled, capturing the moment forever. He became the world's first man to die testing his own parachute, a tragic monument to the boundless human desire to conquer gravity and the equally boundless capacity for miscalculation. Yet if Franz fell in pursuit of a dream, some deaths were less noble, more absurdly trivial. Take Gary Hoy, a respected Canadian lawyer who sought to demonstrate the strength of his office's unbreakable glass windows to visiting interns. With theatrical flair, he threw himself against the pane. It held as promised, but the frame did not. The entire window popped out, and Hoy fell 24 stories to his death. His colleagues stood in stunned silence as the irony crystallized. The man who wanted to prove something unbreakable had shattered his own fate. But for every absurd modern tragedy, there lies an ancient one. older, and stranger still. Let us return for a moment to the ancient world, where stories blur between myth and fact, and death often masquerades as divine punishment. Take Draco, the Athenian lawmaker whose name gave us the word draconian. So beloved was he by his people that when he appeared in the theater of Aegina, admirers showered him with cloaks as a gesture of honor. Yet there were so many, hundreds, perhaps thousands, that he suffocated beneath their weight. The man who gave the world its harshest laws was killed by an excessive affection. In life, he was feared for his severity. In death, he was smothered by love. It is said that no tyrant fears the mob's hatred more than its adoration. As the centuries rolled on, irony found new stages. In the 20th century, in the heart of America, a rising young politician named Alan Pinkerton, the founder of the Pinkerton Detective Agency, met an end so unworthy of his legend that it reads like a cruel jest. He slipped on the pavement, bit his tongue, and the resulting infection spread through his body, killing him. The man who hunted criminals across the wild frontier, who survived gunfire and rebellion, was undone by a fall and a wound no wider than a nail's breadth. Death, once again, chose the smallest door to claim the greatest hunter. And yet, there are times when death arrives not as a consequence, but as a cosmic spectacle. Take the case of Isadora Duncan, the goddess of modern dance, whose flowing scarves became her signature. In 1927, as she rode through Nice in a convertible, her long silk scarf fluttered out the window, caught in the car's rear wheel, and strangled her instantly. The fabric that made her a symbol of grace became her executioner. Onlookers called it poetic, terrible, and fitting, all at once. In that instant, art and death intertwined in a final performance that even she could not have choreographed. But perhaps the most haunting tale belongs to Basil I of Byzantium, a man who rose from stable boy to emperor, an ascent so steep it defied belief. For 30 years he ruled with cunning and cruelty, his enemies crushed beneath his ambition. Yet, in his 70s, while hunting, he was dragged by a stag that caught its horns in his belt. For a day and a night, the emperor was pulled through forests and thorns, his flesh torn, his power meaningless against nature's fury. When they found him, his body was broken, his robes soaked in royal blood. The hunter had become the hunted, and fate had reclaimed its balance. These are not mere stories. They are echoes of humanity's endless struggle with its own absurdity. From emperors to peasants, from philosophers to fools, the lesson endures, that no rank, no intellect, no vision of glory can shield us from the strange, often comical hand of fate. For in the theater of mortality, even the greatest among us must play our part, and sometimes that part is written by irony itself. And so, the curtain falls upon the strangest theater of all, the stage where death dances not as a shadow of sorrow, but as a performer of cosmic comedy. For what else could we call these stories but the universe's laughter echoing through time? To die in glory is human, to die in absurdity is divine, because it strips away all illusion of control. History, that eternal storyteller, delights in reminding us that the end never comes as we expect it. Somewhere in ancient Rome, a glutton named Valerian ate so many figs that he choked upon them, while nearby, a noblewoman met her end because she refused to stop holding her breath to win an argument. It's easy to mock them, these ghosts of foolishness. But are we not the same? Every age produces its own brand of madness disguised as ambition, curiosity, or pride. Look at Clement Vallandigham's fatal courtroom demonstration, or Franz Reichelt's leap from the Eiffel Tower. Beneath the laughter lies a truth deeper than mockery, that the will to prove, to conquer, to matter, is the same force that built pyramids and painted cathedrals. The line between genius and folly has always been drawn by death's hand, and it moves with the gentlest wind. Even now, centuries later, the tales of these men and women live on because they mirror us. Their absurdity is ours, their tragedy universal. Think of Aeschylus, the great tragedian, who feared the fall of objects and yet was struck down by a falling tortoise. In his death, we see the ultimate irony, that we cannot outsmart our destiny. Think of Emperor Qin Shi Huang, who sought to build eternity with stone and mercury, and instead buried himself alive beneath his own delusion. Or King Adolf Frederick, who devoured pleasure until it devoured him. These are not just curiosities. They are monuments to the folly of being human. For what is history but a graveyard of magnificent contradictions? Every age has worshipped something different: power, beauty, reason, progress. But all have fallen to the same unseen hand, reminding us that our end is never truly ours to script. Perhaps that is why these deaths resonate beyond mere shock value, because in each there is poetry. Zeuxis dying of laughter before his own art, Bacon freezing for knowledge, Isadora Duncan strangled by elegance. All are testaments to the idea that we perish in the arms of what we love most. It is not the cruelty of fate that haunts us, but its precision. When we look back upon these stories, the question is not how they died, but why their deaths still live. Because within every absurd ending lies a reflection of our own fragility. History does not laugh at them, it laughs with them. It shows us that the line between meaning and madness is paper thin, that genius and irony often share the same breath. The philosopher Chrysippus found joy so overwhelming it killed him. Perhaps that is not tragedy, but triumph. An exit not of despair, but of ecstasy. Likewise, George Plantagenet drowning in wine may not be mere indulgence, but an act of defiance, a man embracing his own excess to the end. The absurd becomes sacred when it reminds us that control is an illusion, and that every heartbeat is a borrowed moment. Even the humblest among them, Hans Steininger tripping over his beard, Gary Hoy trusting unbreakable glass, speak of the same human flaw, the desperate wish to believe that we are invincible. Their deaths, strange as they seem, are mirrors reflecting our own hubris. We build skyscrapers and rockets, we chase immortality through medicine and machine, yet the smallest misstep, the tiniest oversight, still holds the power to undo us. In that truth, there is something profoundly unifying. The great and the forgotten meet at the same destination, their paths absurdly diverse, yet all converging in the same silence. But death, though relentless, is never cruel without reason. It does not mock, it instructs. It leaves us the gift of story, the only kind of immortality that truly exists. We remember these people not because they were perfect, but because they were spectacularly human. They remind us that the end is not the enemy of life, but its punctuation, a full stop that gives meaning to the sentence before it. Without death's absurdities, history would be flat, humorless, lifeless. The strange, the ridiculous, the ironic, these are the colors that give time its texture. Every king who eats himself to death, every scientist frozen by curiosity, every artist slain by laughter, they all whisper the same truth, that in our quest to outsmart mortality, we often stumble into its embrace. And perhaps that is what makes the human story so endlessly captivating, its refusal to be predictable. Close your eyes and imagine them, these 10 souls scattered across time. A philosopher gasping between laughter and wisdom, a painter collapsing before his art, a king with wine upon his lips, a lawyer mid-demonstration, eyes wide with disbelief, an emperor dragging through the forest, crowned by leaves instead of laurel. Hear the echo of their final moments, the gasp, the laugh, the sudden silence, and realize that in every one of them lies a reflection of ourselves. For we too live as if death were an abstraction, something that happens to others, until it turns and looks back at us with that same bemused smile it has worn for millennia. So when you walk through history's long corridors, lined with marble statues and silent portraits, remember this: not every legacy is carved from heroism. Some are etched in absurdity, and yet they shine just as bright. The 10 weirdest deaths in history are not just curiosities of the past. They are proof that life, in all its grandeur, is at once fragile and ridiculous, that our pursuit of meaning often ends in chaos, and that perhaps the truest wisdom lies not in avoiding the absurd, but in accepting it. Because one day, our own stories will join theirs, and someone, centuries from now, may laugh or weep at the irony of our end. And when they do, death, that eternal storyteller, will smile once more, pen in hand, ready to write another impossible truth into the chronicles of mankind.